Notebook LM is great for, I actually created one of our city council meetings, we were talking about tattoos, where it was a 3-hour-long meeting. I created a 25-minute podcast based on that. It's brilliant, by the way. I mean, it's these two people talking about the summary of the meeting, and it was just fascinating to, like, can we do this with our staff? Can we create these podcasts after our meetings, and then it summarizes where these two people
Internal podcast. Hey, if
No, it's so
city
brilliant.
council meeting, check the city council podcast.
So it depends what you're trying to do. Each one has,
Not
like, some
produced
are
by.
deeper into research, some are more like researching the web, some are, anyway. So it depends what you're doing.
I kind of understood my question. I was
So
just
you
posing
can't-
the question because I think that it is probably incumbent upon us to not just say all AI should be allowed. I think we should decide which ones we want to allow for the use, because Grammarly is one of those that where it was brought up that I use, that was going to help us work on our edits, our grammar and our emails. But when we're composing something longer, is it the Google AI that that is already embedded in Gemini, that's already embedded in the program, or Copilot that's already embedded in the program? Why are we needing to use ChatGPT if we have those already available?
And I do think, I may be wrong on this, I'm kind of new to the whole thing, but my understanding is Copilot has more privacy to it than, say, some of the others, because you're paying for the subscription. We definitely, I mean, this is all new, right? Like, we're wading through this at our office too, and what is appropriate and when is it appropriate to use and when is it not. There are some moments where I'm finding it to be a really incredibly helpful tool to clean up a letter, or, help me to, make sure it's using more active verbs. But I agree. I'm not sure we should be just carte blanche saying everything is allowed, don't worry about it. I agree with what you're saying about, like, the privacy, that, we scrub documents of that type of data, but also, I'd love to see that we make sure where we do have lean staff and lots is expected, if there are ways to help, improve how you get your job done and get it done more quickly so you can move to the next thing. I'd love to see that be implemented, in a way that it does preserve privacy.
So just to respond to your comment, it is not the intent to allow any AI. And again, that was the oversight of saying, hey, wait a minute. And I think as those are things behind the scenes that staff will have to implement and say, and maybe a committee, which tools and how do we determine what tools. But as this has come up, we've just been made aware that more employees are, a lot of employees are using different tools depending on their job. And
Which has
so-
created its own questions on what are those retention schedules for those types of things. So it's actually created a really good conversation amongst us internally to make sure we're keeping a schedule on things that need a schedule. And things
But I like the idea of knowing, running it through and having them vetted, at least so we know the list of,
So I am by no means a ChatGPT or AI expert, but I've been through a couple of seminars, including one last week. I was at a Judicial Conduct Commission conference in Louisville, Kentucky, which, by the way, I came back saying y'all. It's like the best term ever. But judges from Judicial Conduct Commissions from around the country were meeting, and one of the issues that they were talking about was AI. And there are so many AI platforms, like even more than I had realized, and there are new ones coming out all the time, and they're closed platforms, they're open platforms, right? ChatGPT is an open platform. Our co-counsel on Westlaw is a closed platform, and so there are a lot of ways. So when I was looking at this policy, I recognized, like, we have to have a policy that's going to be able to grow with this AI technology as it continues to evolve. And I thought that the balance that this policy struck was good in that it encourages people, like, you can't upload confidential information, right? So as long as I'm not uploading confidential information, resident, personally identifiable information, I think that the risk of using even an open AI source is fairly minimal. Where I would encourage us to be very careful is ChatGPT and other AI sources are trained to give us answers that we want, right? They are trained to please us in their answers, and they come across and they look really like, yep, this is the answer, and we know what they do. And a lot of times they will create fake information. And so one of the things we're seeing as lawyers, you guys may have seen, like some lawyers have submitted briefs to courts with made-up case law, and they have gotten sanctioned. And according at this judicial conduct conference, even a judge recently cited a made-up case in a judicial opinion, right? Like it is happening, and so I wish I could make this up, but I'm not. Like it is happening, and so if we're going to have staff and allow them to use things to generate policies, for example, right? Like it could come up with and cite Utah code sections or Utah regulations that just simply do not exist. So I
You
would
better
hope-
check.
So I would hope, and we have this in the policy, right? So this is more of like a training issue, but boy, if you're gonna be using ChatGPT or an AI to generate some kind of a policy and it's citing anything, language from a statute or a regulation, man, double check to make sure that that stuff is actually right, because it may just be hallucinated.
I'll give three examples of things where I've used it, where we were having a conversation with community development about potentially annexations up on the hillside, or boundary adjustments. There's conversations, are boundary adjustments allowed with the county? And I asked ChatGPT to help me research that, and it says, oh, of course, you just do this, this, and this, and I know it's not possible. It's an annexation, not a boundary line adjustment with the county. I can do a boundary line adjustment with West Bountiful, so it's absolutely wrong. So over time, I've developed, and I'll just give you an example of things that it has to give me a confidence level. You're 85% confident, or give me sources so I can look it up. But there are certain inputs, because it knows who I am, that I require from that, and it'll give me confidence levels, things like that. So hallucinations are a real thing. I did have a friend who wrote his talk on ChatGPT, his church talk, and it quoted wrong scriptures, and he was called out on it, says, hey, where's that scripture? He's like, oh,
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah,
It's not a
Brad,
thing.
my at the time 17-year-old son, I didn't even know about AI at the time, and I'm reading his talk and I'm like, this is like apostatizing,
Yeah.
you know, like it
Absolutely.
wasn't right. I
Oh,
was like, this is not right information. I'm like, where did you get this? Finally, it came out, because I was like, there's no way that Brigham Young said this.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yes, I think you have to be really careful about what you're doing, and the prompts matter, actually.
Very much so. So the third thing, this was the most alarming, because I have attended a few sessions on this to completely understand what we're getting into, is this county manager was using it for disciplinary action and input the data and asked, could you help me draft a letter with this information? It says, yeah, I blank so-and-so, blank, blank, and had all these blanks. He says, oh, this is so-and-so, and this is so-and-so, and this is so-and-so. A few months later, another employee was searching and looking up something. Oh, there's actually disciplinary action going on between the county manager and this employee, and it popped out. And so that's the scary thing about this whole thing. That's why we got to be so careful. So if we are going to allow it, then yes, we need to have training. So we are very aware of these type of concerns.
Can I put in a plug, though, having sat through this Judicial Conduct Commission, and one of the tools that they were saying is AI can be helpful, even for judges, right? They're even pitching for judges, like, this stuff can help you in your job. One of the things that they showed was how court systems in various parts of the county are using AI to help people navigate their court system and generate forms and find information. And I was so excited because I thought as AI gets better, I think we'll be able to, where's Bryce, looking at improving our city website, I think that we may be able to use AI to help assist our residents in more easily navigating, not just, put in the little search thing and it pulls up a list. Like, it will become even more interactive, and our own city's website will be more user-friendly for our residents. So that makes me excited.
So this is
AI
the
not
first.
all scary.
Absolutely. So this is the first step, and then we're having great conversations with staff, already seeing where they're using it now, so we can have those conversations in training. We don't know where it's at right now, but we need to create the policy first.
I think it's really important to remember, my son, who's a computer engineer, put it to me this way, like, each AI is designed to do different things, like your attorney Westlaw is going to be designed very specifically for that type of searching and research. He reminded me that an AI like ChatGPT is I think he called it a large language processor. So you weren't going to ask ChatGPT to solve like a structural engineering issue. It can't do it. It'll come back with really great sounding data, but it isn't going to be right. So I think we have to remember too that each of these specifically addresses certain things. ChatGPT, Copilot, they're very good at language type helps, but they're not necessarily good at solving another type of problem.
I'm usually pretty picky about policies, and I didn't have any substantive comments on this one. I think that it's well drafted. I think it's a great first effort. And it's broad enough, again, to allow for evolution of the AI functions, but I expect you guys will work with staff to train that.
To Councilmember Pulver's point, there is some conversations, as we figure this out, I don't necessarily want to say, because I don't know what AI Lisa's using or police is using, so we got to have the conversations to see what's working and try and figure out what works best for the
And
city.
we did put December 1st effective date, so that we can notify staff and do some communication.
Does police enforcement, do you guys have AI-specific tools? Maybe you just said that as an example. I was just curious. No special police AI. Okay, I got excited for a second. I was like, ooh, that sounds interesting.
There's other things they're using it for. but-
No, there are those programs out there. Motorola, Axon, they'll have those programs that actually integrate in with body cams and will give you summaries of calls.
Oh,
And they'll actually write reports for you based on the body cam. We haven't gone down that road yet. So we do not currently use any AI in any of our reporting or any of our actions.
But even the license plate reader, I mean, it's in some ways, I think we collect information that's.
Right. But yeah, but it's not creating data, it's not,
Well, it's capturing data and notifying you that the data's here.
right. So I guess if that's an AI, then everything's AI, I think.
I think we excluded the police department.
So, thank you, Lisa, for doing this. Now I'm going to sound like your father, okay?
Oh, jeez.
First off, I wish we could stay away from it, but we can't. I know that because when I grew up, this was plagiarism using other people's works, and that's what we're doing. But it is here. It's AI, and I'm glad we're putting a policy together because we have to be really, really strict about it because it isn't in such its infancy. And the example that Brant just described, I can see that happening. You know, and that's going to be egg all over our face. So we not only have to have a policy, but we have to follow it. Maybe an enforcement officer for our AI policy, but because I'm glad that you're addressing it because we're going to use it, you know, but we need to have a policy for it. And we need to be really careful as well, too.
Thanks, Dad. Mayor, I'll make a motion if.
Sure, go ahead,
Further
unless
discussion.
there's no other discussion,
Way to move it along.
Yep, sorry, I'm in the mood for moving along tonight. I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 2025-16, enacting section 10.030 of the Centerville Personnel Policies regarding the use of artificial intelligence in the workplace.
Second?
Motion is second, further discussion?
I just think Section D is definitely concerning to me. Approval of AI tools, there's not a specific breakdown of what that means. You're opening it up to anything and everything that anybody wants to use. You do have a committee, I understand, but that is maybe overly broad. Maybe we should have an amendment that would limit that for now to the software that we actually have. Do we have Windows Suite that we purchased by the city? Or do you use some other?
Well, sure, yeah, we have.
So you do have access to Copilot.
You do when you have a Microsoft as well, and I have a Mac. So again, I don't think a policy is meant to get so descriptive saying these are the 5 tools you can use, because then we come in before you for the change in this tool and the change in this tool, that this committee is established to hopefully address those issues. But I would be careful to put it actually in the policy, because you'd be making changes potentially, because it's evolving every couple months.
And
But duly
section
noted
D-
what your concerns are, because we feel the same way, but I would I don't know if it's necessarily, if you want an approval policy spelled out and saying, here's the approval policy for different AI tools for the committee to consider, then I think that's fair, but
To be clear, Section D does not provide carte blanche to employees. It specifically says that
I
they
did.
must obtain approval from the IT.
It's just approving all AI tools. That's the way I see it. It's just all approval of AI tools, which means you could use Grok, you could use ChatGPT, you can use Grammarly, anything that, you could use a chatbot on the car search that you're trying to buy a car from. It's just opening it to everything. Is that
As
really what we?
approved by the IT manager. So it's giving all discretion to the IT manager. And like I said, as this evolves, we might have more of a committee, but before any employee could use that, and it might require a delay, well, because it's probably going to be a bit of a burden as we try to implement this. That's also why I did the December 1st deadline, but. or
I'm also
implementation
concerned
date.
about Section H, where violations, if there is misuse, how do you know that there is misuse?
Well, if we find.
It's going to
that-
be all reactionary in that regard. So I think that's a problem with that I have with this as well, that we just don't have a proactive solution to handle that. And I think that's something we should talk about and figure out before we implement this.
So let me ask you this, Councilman Plummer. I appreciate what you're saying. And based on my comments, I mean, we have to have some policy. How do you change, you're not suggesting we don't do AI, right? So,
I
I
don't,
mean,
I'm not
it's a
suggesting.
start. Can we improve on it? I mean, do you have suggestions to improve on
I
it?
think that if we utilize or approve the use of AI tools within the software systems that are already being used, and if we need to expand that outside of what are being currently used within the office, then then the IT manager can open that up to something more broad. But right now, it should be limited to the software systems that are already in place. And that would just be my thought. It would be easier to manage. It would be easier for employees to show that, yes, I've used this. Here's the documentation of it right here. This in my Word or file or my Excel folder, whatever it is, that's where it will be. But if it's all out there in this database or over here in this database, how are we going to really understand how to manage that?
But if you're not using personal identifying information, does it matter what database it's in? Because it's out there anyway, right? So ChatGPT might be pulling a Cloudfall, pulling from Google or Bing or whatever the case might be, but if you're not using personal identifying information,
What if an accident happens and personal identification gets in?
That's where she's saying there's discipline, right?
But how do we know that happens?
proactively stopping this is saying we're not allowing AI. If you're saying want to be proactive, the only way I can say that is not allowing AI
Right.
is the only way to be proactive.
That's the nature of a violation. You don't know it happens until it happens.
Right. So Brian, can I just clarify? I'm trying to understand. You talk about existing software. So can you give me an example? Are we okay with Copilot because it's part of,
It's part of what we are
Microsoft.
already using, yes.
so you're saying Copilot is okay. There is some privacy to Copilot, I think. I'm not going to state that, but I'm not an expert on this.
I'll ask
but-
ChatGPT how private it is. I'm just kidding, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. I'm just kidding, I'm not gonna do that.
Yes, Brad, that's exactly. We know ChatGPT is open, so are you for or against, is that what you're saying is maybe ChatGPT isn't an approved software at the moment?
Well, I know.
I'm just
that
trying to get a
it's-
feel for
It's
examples.
not something that is approved at the county.
What about,
I
Okay.
guess my question
Yeah,
is,
we have some limitations on
Is this-
stuff at my office too.
pre-AI and ChatGPT and the others, if an employee was writing a report, they may go out onto the internet and research all different sites. How is this any different with AI, and so they happen to use some different site or different tool than pre-AI?
Yeah, to Mayor's point, you can use Davis County Public Libraries, but you can't use Washington County Public Libraries.
Yeah, so it's just, I see your point. I'm not knocking it at all, Councilman Plummer. I'm just trying to determine how you specify them all, you know?
Because it is so, there is so much out there right now.
Yeah.
There is so much in it but that I think is what is worrisome, is that there is so much out there. And so if we limit how much we are going to allow for use, then it may be a little bit more easy to manage. Whereas if we just, you may not put anything personal into ChatGPT, but over the course of time, ChatGPT could learn enough to understand personal things.
Is there, did you say at the county they have a policy against
We
some?
don't have access to ChatGPT at this time, but we do have access to Gemini, which is the Google.
The Google.
And we do have access to Copilot.
Is there, I mean, is there a possibility that Lisa could maybe provide for us, like, some research on what she feels like might be more closed end, I guess?
So Lisa, I just think it's so evolving that we're
Yeah.
gonna tie our hands. I mean, we need to be productive, and like I said, employees are using this to summarize meetings and prepare to-do lists, and I'm excited about getting one that's gonna help me with calendaring, but there's just so many things that, no, to say that we're limited to what we're using right now is going to tie our hands and hamper our
Is
efficiency.
she gonna approve things, like, or if, like you just said, I'm excited to use something for calendaring. Is she gonna approve that before you put it on your computer? I
Yes, that's what
mean-
the policy says.
That's what the policy
Right,
says, that's
well,
my point.
I understand that, but
I
I'm
have to go say,
still,
this is it, and I agree, it's gonna put a burden on her in the next month or two, or, you know, always, but
I know
that's the gate that we're putting here is, we don't know all of them. Every week, an employee's probably gonna want something new, or hopefully, you know, once a month, but they all need to be looked at and reviewed, and whether it's
so
one
every
person or a
single
committee.
one is gonna get reviewed, even though, like Brant said, hey, you know, let me get on ChatGPT. I'm not saying Brant's using it, but there's an example, right? Is she gonna go through and approve what's currently being used?
Yes, we have to, it has to be approved.
Okay, so we're gonna
You're
go
not like
back.
grandfather because you're using, no,
Okay.
everything I use or want to use.
Starts December 1, you have to have it queued up
Yeah,
and have
so
approved
by
prior to then.
December 1,
So
she's
we're gonna have
got,
a-
whatever she's approved can be used on December 1st, and anything
In
else,
my
she
opinion,
still has
anybody
to
else can
approve.
use it as well, like it's already been vetted. So if it's on the list, you know, and you want to do it right now, then do that one. It's going to take me a couple weeks, you know, I'm sorry, but that's the way it's drafted now, is yes, it would have to be approved. And we're going to have to think about it because, yeah, every day there's,
So why
know,
can't we
that's what I'm worried
approve
about.
this after we see what she's approved?
Again, are you wanting all those software things to be in the policy? Is that what you're?
I would like to see the list, yeah.
I don't
I
think,
think-
for me, for my part, I don't think you need, that's the point of a policy, is not to be specific. The point of the policy is to provide parameters and guidelines, and I think the policy does that.
And I'm not, I agree that the policy should not be that specific. It needs to have the guidelines and parameters, but I do agree with Brian that, I mean, this is fast-moving stuff. We're putting a lot of pressure on one person to make sure that they get it right. Correct.
And I would just say, Mayor, just quickly, I would just say that having a list come to council, I am definitely not more qualified than
No,
our
I
IT
agree.
representative to vet this potential list. I'm not
No, I totally
saying
agree with
otherwise.
you,
That's why I
Spencer.
like what's written.
I don't want to be the one that makes the approval on that list either. Is there,
So
do we need a
if-
specialist to
so-
help
But don't
with
we
this?
have a specialist that's, I mean, we've hired the company that helps
Yeah,
our
what about our
IT.
IT
So
company?
who is
So
the person
won't
that you
she
find
be
you say,
going
yeah,
to
I'm
them
comfortable with
to
that
help?
person, if not our IT manager?
Right.
I'd just like to see what the IT manager, what their list is. I have worked with, personally, a lot of different AIs. I would just like to see what they have. Maybe she comes back and has 2 AIs on the list. That would actually be comforting to me, as opposed to a list that says we're actually going to open it up to 20 or 30 AIs. That would be concerning to me. So I actually need to see the list first.
Well, you're not
She
gonna
doesn't
have,
the idea of this, we don't have a list. And
I
so
know,
this,
there will
as
be a
we
list.
implement it, we're going to say to employees, please contact IT for any, AI tool, product that you're using, so it can be vetted for use for the city.
and it's not gonna be restricted too, because Adobe has its own. Are we saying that we can't use Adobe summaries, or I can't use Outlook summary of my emails?
Those should all
I mean-
be proposed to her. She should
But that's what
vet
I'm
them.
saying, is you're gonna have this long list because different programs use something different, so it's
Correct.
gonna be 10 to 12 to begin with.
And I want
anyway.
to see it.
So you said two,
I
so
mean,
it's-
Good further discussion, but we have a motion and
Okay.
approve on that motion. No, what I'm saying is you can make an amendment to that motion. If you have an amendment you want to formulate, and, or go back to the one
Well,
that made
that
the
would have to be
motion, maybe they'll
approved
accept.
by the majority of the council, and I don't know if I'd get that support.
Well, hang on, can I just add something? Why are we not adding to this policy that we bring in our IT and Lisa and just kind of say, what criteria are you going to use to determine whether or not you approve an AI system?
Well, and does anybody have a problem with us receiving a list of which ones? I mean, all Brian wants is a list of what she's telling the employees they can use. I don't understand why that would be a problem.
Because we don't have a list. She
Right,
doesn't know
she
what
doesn't
everybody's
have one
using.
now, but what Brian is saying is when she develops that list, he'd like to see it.
But there's nothing in this policy that would prohibit us from saying, we want to enact this policy, and hey, Lisa, when you go through this process, we'd love to see a list of what you're approving and why. But to limit, in my view, to limit very specifically individual chat or individual AI tools in this type of a policy is not the purpose of the policy, and it doesn't reflect the reality that new AI software is coming out and evolving all the time. And I can't
And
think of
that's why I
anything
wanna-
better than the IT manager to be the one to.
Of course,
that.
of course, but I do think there needs to be some criteria developed, whether she develops that and says, this is my checklist, this is what I am going to check into before I approve it. Something, I guess, because I agree with you, I don't want to limit them, but I do want some assurances that our, residents' private information or employees' private information does not get, I get that there's discipline, but by then it's too late, that
But the
person's
policy,
maybe
no,
already
but you're
harmed.
not looking at subsection D because it already builds into this policy. Not only does it have to get approval from the IT manager, but the IT manager is tasked with vetting its source and data privacy and security prior to use by employees. So the policy already identifies criteria that we are expecting the IT manager to use before approving any AI platform.
I do agree with you that it's there in a broader form. I'd still like to hear from her, like, okay, this is how I'm going to determine data privacy. This is why this security system works for me as far as keeping, data, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I
yes,
do,
it's
but-
here, but I would feel more comfortable.
But don't we trust her and her level of expertise, given the parameters and given the direction that we have provided to her in this policy to make those decisions? Again, there is nothing to prohibit us from saying, hey, Lisa, as you're going through this process, we'd love you to come back to City Council and explain to us what criteria, how you're vetting, what sources you're looking at to ensure that the source data privacy and security are appropriate for our city.
In section C and E, to further that point, is section C specifically says, they may use these tools if used responsibly in ways that protect confidential information, comply with record retention, and then section, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. E, that it's giving specific information as to, and providing examples of the confidential information that must never be entered into AI tools. So the policy's well-written. I don't know, I'm trying to figure out what answers
I'm not
are
saying
not
it's not well-written. I'm totally comfortable
provided
with
here.
adopting the policy. I think for me, I would be more comfortable. I'm sort of channeling my inner George McEwen here and thinking,
Amen.
George would be worried about this, and and I don't know what those answers are because I'm not George, but I'm saying that I don't have a problem with the policy. What I would like to know is just, I would like to see her here and, help me have some confidence that that we're heading in the right direction, because yes, this is, like, it's coming out faster than we're keeping up with it.
That sounds like an excellent work session item.
I'm not saying it's not, I'm totally fine with that.
Didn't
But I
cart
do think
before the
Brian
horse
brings
there.
up some good points that I think we'd feel more comfortable. I'm fine to adopt the policy, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, let's make sure that we're really, one thing I am concerned about, maybe I missed it, but how are we training employees so they understand this policy in an actual, not just read it, but actually, you know, in practice, use it?
Lisa's already stated that, December 1st, and that's our time to educate. If it's approved tonight, then we take this time to meet with employees, understand what's being used and the concerns that we have, or the drawbacks of those potential tools, so we can have a conversation and train them better. But we don't know exactly what's out there yet, but the policy does.
I agree, and so I hear what you're saying. I don't totally mean that by training. I mean a little bit further, like I'd like to see a little more than just that. Like, you have new employees come in, what can they use? How are you going to train them so that we,
So,
you know, because we have gotten some training where I work, and it's pretty specific, and I'm not quite hearing that yet. So that's why I'm a little uncomfortable.
and so maybe we do need to make an amendment to suspend the enactment of the policy, not, or to suspend it until we have received information from Lisa that shows a list of the approved and a strategy and maybe even the curriculum for the education moving forward on how we're going to train employees how to use this.
Are you also going to ask them to provide a list of those that are not acceptable and reasons why they're not acceptable?
think
Because then
that-
you're delving into the territory of trying to define, hey, I like this list, but I don't like this list, and now you're getting into, frankly, I think legal terrain where you have to provide evidence and findings as to why one AI for use of technology is acceptable and why another is not.
So we can discriminate against AI, is that what you're saying?
No, no, so Spencer, let me give an example of some of the training that we received at my office. There are very specific AIs we cannot use. We cannot use ChatGPT, period, because it's open. We cannot use any AI whatsoever for one of our state clients, ever. So those are the types of things that I'm going, I have some very
Because
specific.
there's privacy issues, big time.
They just
with
don't allow it, and I
ChatGPT
don't
and
really
so
know
on.
why, and we're not gonna ask them legally why, because we don't care, we just don't wanna tick them off by, you know. Do we have, AI tools at my office? Absolutely, and one of them is a closed system that we're allowed to use, but that's where I'm saying, I just wanna make sure that I would rather go a little bit more narrow in what we're doing right now. I don't need to see like the list of yeses and the list of nos. I would like to have a little more comfort from hearing from Lisa on just exactly how she's going to research or determine. It doesn't matter which one. I just want to know that there's some basic things that, so that
Rubric or something?
something that we, just so we know that like, okay, that feels good. That, I don't have a problem with the policy. I think it's great. And I do think we need to implement it. I don't know that we should be waiting on that. But what Shaylin said, just maybe a future work session where we can kind
So-
of dive
so-
in a little more on making sure that we're comfortable that we are getting the training I want our employees to be able to use it. I just want to make sure that we don't get down the road and we're like, oh shoot, we didn't
But
think about that, and
But
now we've got
without-
problems.
Councilman Hurst, if you approve it tonight, then this is December 1st, you gotta have a work session really quick, to define a lot of things. So do you wanna approve it first, or you wanna have that work session first? In the meantime, the employees continue to use AI.
I was gonna say, right now, can't they use everything and anything they want, because we have
No, I
no.
think we should approve it. Can
So,
we get it, can we do a work session? How does that fit? Like, let's ask our staff how they can,
And then that brings into, I mean, we're assuming here that Lisa is all up to snuff with all the AI stuff, right? Because I have a son-in-law, and I'm not saying we're bringing him in, but he's pretty expert in this kind of thing, you know? And there's others out there like that. I mean, because you bring up what you said at your work, you're not allowed to use ChatGPT or this other one with because of privacy issues. That's a big concern. It's a huge concern. That's what some companies are doing. Then we should be educated on
I want to make sure we've looked
what
at.
AI tools are more apt to put out personal information out there.
And I certainly trust Lisa to do all of this. I wouldn't be really opposed to saying, can we get our consultant in here? Just if they have an AI specialist that is helping, maybe they know something about other cities' AI policies and can we, or the state's policy, this is over my head. I'm not trying to make it more difficult. I'm just saying, let's.
I just for grins and giggles while we have been here, I just put into ChatGPT, how should an IT manager vet the source, data privacy, and security of AI platforms
it.
prior to use by employees? And I will be darned if ChatGPT did not, in very short fashion, identify a number of steps that an IT manager could take, including 1, source vetting a platform credibility, 2, looking at the data privacy and governance of various platforms, 3, implementing security controls and technical safeguards, right? Like there are things that I'm sure Lisa can do to implement that will address some of your concerns. But if we have a policy that is so narrow
No, I
that
don't want it
doesn't
to-
allow
And
for
that are in the
flexibility.
policy already.
Right, so anyway.
The wording of this policy, I'm really fine with. That's not it. I just think there should be some type of discussion so that
I prefer Lisa's policies that she writes as opposed to the AI policy.
Okay, great discussion, but I still haven't, Brian shot at an amendment, I don't know if it was an amendment. And if it is, then that friendly amendment needs to be accepted by Spencer, but we have something we have to vote on or get an
Okay.
amendment to.
I think my motion stands as it is, as staff's written it. So we can do a vote on that. If it doesn't pass, maybe there's an amendment, Mayor.
Okay, and that was seconded.
Correct.
Yes, I seconded
So
it.
let me just clarify, just pass it and let staff figure it out, is that, like?
Well, I don't- I'm
No,
not
we
saying-
intend on coming back. I mean, based on what we heard, we have no issues bringing
It sounds
some
like
work
yours
session
is
to
a
help you
staff
understand what we're doing.
direction to say, okay, we have the policy, we have all these guidelines.
Yeah, I
Here's how
have
we're
a
gonna
staff
implement the
direction, I
policy.
guess, that's all.
How are you gonna specifically implement this? I think is what your question is.
Yeah, that's all my question is. I'm fine with the policy. We ready?
Okay, any last words? Robin, you want me to wait on you?
Yeah.
Councilman Summerhouse.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Passes 4-1. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to another privacy thing, data privacy program. Okay, setting up a data privacy committee. Lisa, are you going to tell us about this one?
Yes.
Looks like it's state law we have to conform to by the end of December.
Yes, the state legislature readopted many obligations that cities have concerning data privacy that were spread out throughout the state code. I believe they also simplified them and gave us some more time to implement because they realized that cities did not understand the rules and were not complying. So this sort of clears the slate for us, and they are providing a lot of training, a lot of resources out of the Data Privacy Office. I think they're doing a really good job with the rollout of this legislation. It's lengthy legislation though, but essentially, from the state level, they're saying we have to protect private information. And government needs to be better at protecting that information and understanding, and even in many instances, not collecting the data in the first place and communicating with people, our residents, our businesses, what information we're collecting. So the legislation is essentially a rollout of when we have to comply with, and they have a 21 bullet point, do this, 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 and this, and each 21 point says what we have to do. So we've met, we created a data privacy committee here at the city. We've met a few times looking over that list, and we're starting to tackle that list. And one of the first things on the list is to come up with, well, to designate our chief executive officer. Who is going to be in charge of this program? So we voted and nominated our city recorder.
Did you say chief executive officer or administrative
Sorry,
officer?
chief administrative
Yeah, okay.
officer. I do not like that term because we use it for so many different things. It should just be our chief privacy officer. But they went with this term that's confusing because, yes, our chief administrative officer is something very different. But we have designated the city recorder. I think this will require a lot of support because it really crosses over a lot of different departments, you know, city manager, legal, communications, administrative services, and our IT. But, so we are crossing off requirement number 1, that we designate a chief administrative officer, and then the chief administrative officer has to designate, is responsible for appointing records officers. So what they're saying, you know, you can't just have a few records officers, which already, they have to be certified under GRAMA. So we only have 2. We have one in the police department and our city recorder. We may have more, but right now they have to be annually certified in GRAMA, and then they will also have to be annually certified in data privacy. So, but the idea is that we are adopting a new data privacy policy, which will be adopted as part of our administrative rules. So similar to where we keep our minutes approval policy, our procurement policy. I think we put our social media policy there, but it's on Muni Code, so everyone will be able to see these policies. And these are just the first 2 chapters. So as we meet and we talk about, you know, like the next chapter might be training, and we'll put, okay, here's all the training that has to occur, and then as we get into the more meaty aspects of, okay, looking at your processes and how you collect information and notifying people, then we'll just continue. But this is chapter 1, which is general provision, saying this, we have a Utah Government Data Privacy Act, and we have to comply with that. We have to implement our program by December 31st of this year. I believe we've already complied with that by creating the committee, but this will provide Jennifer with something. We have to, and we have to do an annual report, so we can report by the end of the year that we've already started written policies as well. So that's just generally chapter 1 is saying we understand there's a state law and we intend to comply. You'll see I have a definition section. I had, at the time of chapters 1 and 2, I only had 2 definitions, so I just took them out and said we're going to follow state definitions, but as we move along, we may want some definitions in ours. And then, yeah, the administration chapter is just designating the chief administrative officer, the records officers, and then just as a helpful thing, implementation dates in 15.02.060 helps the committee, staff, as well as the council understand these are the dates that we have to comply with. We have to start our program by the end of the year. As of the adoption of this act, which was May 7th, 2025, we have to follow all those requirements for any new processing. So meaning if we require people to fill out forms, we have to comply with the law. But for existing processes, we have until July 1st, 2027 to bring those processes up to the state code. And then we're also required immediately as of May 7th of this year to train all new employees within 30 days of hire of these requirements. I think we're complying with that. And any employees that have access as part of their working duties.
Lisa, is the state providing municipalities with any assistance in terms of trainings or otherwise on this? Okay.
They've been amazing.
Yes,
This
yes.
is actually
they have
the
a
one
whole
time.
Program framework,
Yeah.
and we're going through it, and they do have online
So we
training.
can pass that down as we do onboarding and whatnot. Okay.
This is one of the weird mandates from the state that
That are actually
we
been helpful
actually
on?
agree with, and they were very helpful with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So anyway, there's
That's
a lot
that's
of,
why I asked the question, because usually it's no, you're hung out to dry and you gotta figure it out on your own.
no, it's been great.
That's really nice.
yes.
Okay, so,
But as I said, a lot of these have already been in state law, we just haven't been doing them, like our website and things, but yes, we are getting a lot of help, it's just gonna take time to implement.
okay, I gotta ask you one thing. In our policy, we're saying, in accordance with the Utah Government Data Privacy Act, to protect or provide city employees, officers, and elected officials with the knowledge and guidelines to safeguard and protect important data and information. I didn't look up HB 444. Do they define what that important data
Yeah, what is important?
is? Because to me, the disclosure checklist, which all kicks will come out of the state, when you start disclosing all of your personal financial interests and your personal holdings of companies you own, that's pretty private stuff
Yeah,
that they're
right.
getting
Right.
into. That's not out there to the public, that you can go through that stuff and you can find probably stuff they're referring to, like social security numbers and that sort of thing. So it
Right.
seems like to me they're waffling one way or another on this. If they are trying to have us do that, but they're doing this data
I
privacy.
think waffling is a kind word to use. It's probably hypocritical
Yeah.
in their policy
That's probably the right
implementation.
word.
Yes, as you get into the Data Privacy Act, they do specifically define, private information or personally protected information. I just used important in the purpose because they're going to use a lot of different terms throughout, and so this isn't, I'm just trying to set our policy, or the purpose of this is to help protect important information, but throughout, it's going to be more defined what that information is.
To Mayor's point, would it help if we were to change it to say to protect certain important data? Because that would then suggest that there's some, like, keep reading and we'll tell you what
Yes, okay,
that
let's
important
see.
data might be.
And is this in 030, is that where,
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what he
or
was
the
reading.
scope, let's see.
It's a good point, though, important.
Okay, because, no, in 030, we say of personal data,
To protect certain important data.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's good.
Is there reasoning behind the chief
Oh,
administrator?
protected, well, it already says protected.
To safeguard.
Why don't we
and
just say
protect-
protected data? Should take out important. Protected
Well,
data,
to safeguard, do you want to change it to say to safeguard protected data and information?
oh, and-
It begs the question as to what protected data is.
yeah,
but-
true, okay.
Yeah, it's like
To
which one's
protect.
important, which one's protected.
I mean, to be a very
Private.
lawyer, you could include after and information as set forth herein, because herein is always a great legal term.
Safeguard and protect. Why don't we just say to safeguard and protect certain data and information? Or certain sensitive?
Yeah, because it is just a purpose. I have a practical question, and this is maybe best for Brant. I mean, Jennifer already does a lot as the city recorder. And now, I mean, I read through just this first section, and I'm thinking, whoa, we're putting a lot on her shoulders now, more. Does she have the capacity to take on this new role as the? what did we
Hire a
call it?
part-time employee. No, she's fine. We've talked about,
Okay,
honestly, I trust Jennifer more than anybody else because she's already dealing with that sensitive information
What if
that I
it's not
prefer.
Jennifer, though?
Well,
What
she
if
does
what if we
trainings,
have a
but-
different recorder, a new recorder?
I would still, if the city recorder comes in, it's not Jennifer, then we hired the wrong city recorder if I can't trust that next city recorder with private information. So that's just the nature of the job, that you have to trust that person with sensitive information.
my question was.
Is there a reason why it wasn't the legal or the city manager, as opposed to the recorder?
They can change too.
Well, I mean, that
They
can,
can, but they also have greater responsibilities in their job qualifications.
Again, it's just a matter of the city recorder. You want to add something to legal or myself to do
You're
this?
adding it to the recorder.
Right, so, but ultimately, this is part of her duties in that we just feel that it's just in line with what she's already doing in safeguarding this information and protecting
You're the
and
chief
maintaining.
manager, you're the chief executive officer of the city, correct?
Yes?
Yes, so for me, it would make more sense that you have that final responsibility.
Okay, you can make that recommendation.
Okay, I do.
So, I mean, it's entirely up to you if you want to make that recommendation. I'm not arguing whether it's me or somebody else or legal. That's entirely up to you, but this is the recommendation, what we discussed internally as staff, that city recorder is best suited for this role.
He does ultimately have that responsibility, and then we ultimately have the responsibility to make sure that he's doing it, but he can delegate it. So,
He can. He can.
I personally think with Jennifer's job description and what she does, it fits her, but, you know,
Yeah, I didn't have any concern with the designation of the city recorder. I wanted to make sure from a practical standpoint that that was something that, whether it's Jennifer or whoever, right, like that job has a lot on their plate, and I just wanted to make sure that we weren't overloading that job. If she feels like she can take that on, that's terrific, because I think that it does make sense in her position to do it.
So will she be required to be the one to educate and have all of that information and disperse it amongst the employees as the chief administrative officer?
Well, yeah, but she's not necessarily going to be doing it by herself. We are a team, so of course, legal and myself will always be supportive of where do we need to help out, right? But you have to identify one person to be that point of contact.
okay, we went quiet all of a sudden, so do we have a motion on this?
I think, sorry, just back to the purpose. I
Oh,
think we
sorry.
can just say to safeguard and protect personal data and information, because I went to the definitions and the state just defines personal data. So that's what we're trying to
Instead
accomplish
of
here.
protected data, if they use personal
So
data.
instead of protect
important.
Oh,
data,
important. I was just trying,
protect
you know,
personal
say, hey,
data.
We're going to, but you're right, that's very broad, so I think if we just say, we're
Subjective.
trying to safeguard and protect personal data and information. That's our goal.
Okay, then I am going to make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2025-17, enacting policies for the city's data privacy program in accordance with applicable provisions of state law, with the making a revision to proposed section 15.01.030 and change important to personal.
Second.
Does personal include business?
Sorry, let me go back to that section. See how it's divided. Personal data means information that is linked or can be reasonably linked to an identified individual or an identifiable individual.
But the term personal data is defined in that statute, and we're
As
using
that.
the same term.
As
Yeah.
that, yeah. And I think it should include business data.
That might be protected by a different law.
Might be.
Yeah, we'd probably have to read HB 444, see if it's probably along the lines of personal.
As you said, if a company comes in and they provide data about their income or some sort of project that they're planning on doing, is that data going to be protected? I mean, should it not
Certain
be?
things can be under grandma, but they also have a definition of individual, which means a human being. So it is quite clear under the Data Privacy Act that they are only talking about personal data of an individual human being,
Not
by
business
law
data.
protecting business data, but business data, certain business data is protected under grandma as private or protected and confidential.
And
Trademark,
many
everything.
companies will do NDAs as well.
All right, ready to vote? Councilwoman Heyman, going to my right.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 4-1. Thank you. All right, let's go to minutes review and approval. We have the October 7th work session. We have the October 7th city council. Do we have any changes to those minutes? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second?
Motion is second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let's go to financial report. Nate, you get to come up front on this one since we have a quarterly financial and present to us the highlights and the lowlights.
Hopefully mostly highlights. Now, as Mayor mentioned, we're now a quarter of the way through the fiscal year. We're flying through. So let's get into it. Yeah, here on this page, the main thing I wanted to point out was so this is our cash positions by each fund. You can see that our Parks Fund just has about $50,000. We need, by the end of the year, to cover our final bond payment for the Island View Park. That's just over $400,000. So unfortunately, we've had to put a hold or a freeze on our parks projects this year until we can ensure that we have enough cash to cover our bond payment.
Where are you waiting for that to come in from somewhere?
So our majority of the funding through parks comes through RAP tax.
Okay.
So we're obviously talking about this because of the RAP tax being on the ballot, correct?
That's part of it. I mean, so we had
And will that help us get to there, do you feel like?
yeah, so if the RAP tax does not pass, then we would not receive,
We
So our
would
RAP
receive
tax
the next year's though, right? Wouldn't we still receive this year's?
it's through the end of March,
But remember,
Oh,
we're on
okay.
a,
Got you.
March is 25
So we'd get
or
some, but
26?
maybe
Yeah,
not
but not
all.
26. So if RAP tax gets reauthorized by the voters, then that will be in effect April 1 for the next 10 years.
While we're on that though, did we get all our money in on that grant for the pickleball courts and all that sort of thing?
Yes, we did.
I think Bruce had told us in the past we had, but just was double checking.
Yeah, and that was in the prior fiscal year.
Are all of the bills paid on the pickleball court and the new playground?
Yep.
So we're mainly concerned about this payment for Island View Park.
Yeah, so we shouldn't really have any other expenses.
Just a cash flow, we just want to make sure we
Yeah.
have the cash there.
We just need to save as much cash as we can that we can cover that.
The pickleball courts is a lot of cash all at once,
And then the parking lot expansion
and the
was,
parking lot expansion was an add-on.
we did a budget amendment, but it was originally not budgeted for. And while I think that was a great move, it ate up a lot of cash.
Yeah.
So we had a couple projects this year, like the
Restrooms,
restrooms at Community Park and the infield fencing, that we've just had to put a hold on until we can ensure that we have enough cash to first cover our bond payment. And then we can, once we feel comfortable about that, then we can talk about moving forward on those projects.
So
But
that'll be a budget amendment you'll bring to us soon for the extra 400 out of,
so it's not an extra, it's budgeted. We just have projects that are budgeted that I don't feel comfortable spending the cash on.
gotcha, okay.
Okay.
What you're saying is you're fine with the balance because we're just gonna freeze it for now until we get the funds in, okay?
Yeah,
And then release those projects once we have that,
yeah.
okay.
So you,
Good thing we're going to the winter, so we don't need flushing toilets.
Yeah.
well, and these were for
I know,
additional.
it's intentional.
I got it.
Which, yeah, is another project that I was really hopeful for. I think it'd be really good to have bathrooms on that west side of the park, but unfortunately, we'll just have to wait until we get sufficient gas. All right, if we want to scroll down a couple of pages and look at the general fund revenues. So the first item I wanted to point out is our property tax. Property tax is due the end of November, so we'll get most of it in December, once that is paid. So that's why your property tax balance is low right now. Looking at sales tax, you can see that we're just slightly above where we were this time of year last year. But you'll also notice that we've received 27% of our budgeted sales tax revenue. So I think we're doing okay on the sales tax front. Looking at total revenues, we're about 2.9 million, which is nearly 100,000 more than what we had last year at this time. So again, I feel good where we're sitting at revenues. Looking at our general fund expenses, you can see that we've spent about 3.2 million, which is just 24%, and we're 25% of the way through the year, so we're right on track as far as expenditures go.
How come the Trails Committee is so high?
So you can see it's not a high dollar amount. They
Right.
bought a trailer to house all of their equipment, which put them over budget a little bit. They're $680 over budget, so it looks like a big percentage of that 147%, but the dollar amount is very manageable.
Where do they keep the trailer?
The Parks Building, I believe, right?
I just want to make sure it's not at somebody's house.
They actually budgeted for it in the previous budget year, but were not able to, they're buying a used trailer, and they were not able to get the funds and check made out in time before it sold, and we actually passed over into the next budget year. So so the money that they had budgeted went back into general fund, but I said, hey, if opportunity comes up, let's just hurry, and we'll hurry, and I'll get the check request in right away, and and so that happened, but it crossed over between the July 1 and the June 30, from when June 30 they had money budgeted, but July 1 they didn't, and anyway, that's why it looks like it's over budget, but it was something that they've been working on for a couple years, to have a used enclosed trailer they could put all their trail maintenance tools in.
So what you're saying is the $680 was in last year's budget technically, like, right?
They had about actually $5,000.
Yeah, they had like
budget last
$5,000
year.
budgeted, but then weren't able to buy the trailer before the budget year ran
Okay,
out.
so 5,000 went back into the general fund, and
Yeah.
Correct.
this year we only approved 1440.
I didn't.
But they
I-
were
yeah,
able to get the
We didn't
trailer,
ask
so-
for the trailer this year, because we thought it was gonna all happen, and it didn't, but then
Oh, I get it,
Yeah.
okay.
Right, a timing issue,
it was a timing issue.
so it technically gets recorded in this year.
Yeah.
Does that clear that up?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
Okay, so moving on, you can see that we have a net loss of the 342,000 in the general fund, but we have not received our property tax, which accounts for a large portion of our general fund. So overall, I think our general fund is in a good spot. Moving on to our RDA fund, I just want to note that again, it shows the net loss, but our main source of revenue is the tax increment, and we will receive that in the March, April time. Going on to the recreation fund, most of our revenues are related to fall baseball. And this is kind of the way our fiscal year timing works. We collect most of our summer rec fees in the spring, early summer, and then we cross over our fiscal year. So we still have a lot of expenses coming out for summer rec, but all of the revenue had already been collected. So it shows a loss, but yeah, I think we'll be okay. Going on to the RAP tax fund, you can see we've received $156,000 in RAP tax, which is a few $1,000s more than we'd received at this time last year. And then we follow that the same distribution that we've talked about, where 85% goes to parks, 5% to the Whitaker, and 5% to the Center Point Theater building. Going on to our parks fund, right there. Again, we talked about this briefly, but you can see that our total revenue is at 31%. So again, I'm hopeful that we can get sufficient cash to move on with some of those projects, but just want to be conservative and make sure that we actually do before we proceed with those projects. All right. On our capital projects fund, we've only spent 11% of that, so I'd expect to see more of that coming in the following quarters. Looking at our transportation fund, See, our total revenue is at 30% of budget, so again, we're doing well in that fund. Moving on to our enterprise funds, first with water. If you look at the operating revenue and our operating expenditures, you can see that the revenues are exceeding the expenditures, which is great. And then I do want to note that we have a reimbursement sitting on the EPA's desk for the water tank, so hopefully we'll be receiving that very soon.
Probably won't see it until after things settled out in Washington.
It wouldn't surprise me. I do know that our representative is still working, at least he was last week. We've been in contact with him and someone else on his staff, exchanging documents that they requested, so I know those two are still working at least, but I anticipate it being delayed further because of the shutdown. Sanitation fund, you can see that we have, sorry, that's yeah, there you go. Sanitation, we have net income of 77,000, so we're doing great there. And then our drainage fund, again, if you look at our operating revenues over expenditures, we're in a good spot. Again, in the drainage fund, we're trying to save up some cash for some bigger projects next year. So that is all I have prepared for you. Are there any questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nate, appreciate it. So I have a curiosity question. How soon after the end of each month do you feel confident that your financial statements are tied out?
It takes a good, probably 15 days.
Okay.
I mean, I know we try to get it prepared for that second meeting, for the second council meeting of the month, and so those meetings that are on the 15th or 16th get a little tight, a little rushed, but yeah, we can generally get it done in about 10 to 15 days.
Good answer. You said longer, then this wasn't a valid financial statement, was it? Since it's the end of September, so good job. I wasn't trying to catch you, but just curious, you know.
Yeah, no, we try to have it.
That's good timing.
We try to have it tied up by the 15th of the month, or at least in time to present it at the second meeting of the following month, and it doesn't always happen, but we try.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
All right, the council report. Councilwoman Meekum.
Don't really have anything with Utopia was here, and since then, they haven't had a meeting, so. I was quick.
Hey, you were quick. Any questions for her? Anybody has anything pressing in their committees that need to know before we meet again?
I'm sure we all know that the secondary water is off, so.
Not too
I
many
can't
complaints
water my
with all
lawn
the
anymore.
rain.
Mosquitoes are dormant.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
They're not dormant. They're awful. They're terrible.
They are terrible.
That's what happens when we get 6
It was a
inches or 5
bust.
inches of rain, right?
We're spotting a dozen or two.
Yeah.
It's
Nesting in my house.
I actually had one in my house this morning, okay, in fairness. Maybe they're all just coming inside.
I think they're trying to get in, and I still have little kids
I
that
sit-
notoriously leave the door open.
Yeah, I said to my wife 2 nights ago, it's got to get cold to get rid of these mosquitoes, so, even though we like the nice weather. All righty, mayor report. So I didn't bring up last time that one of the sessions I went to at the League of City and Towns was on ideas of how in your city you want to celebrate the 250th birthday of America, okay? I did text Bryce and Brant while I was there. Well, Brant was with me, but, you know, with some ideas they were saying. So I know that the staff's thinking about it, and I know that Councilman Plummer's brought it up as well, too. So I'm just throwing it out there, Council, that if you have some ideas, please throw them out. Maybe we'll, in the next little bit, we can entertain what you guys have done so far. It sounds like Bryce wants to now. So, I've opened the Pandora's box, so we're curious now of what's been happening.
We have been talking about it just internally on 4th of July, definitely having it be part of the 4th of July theme with the logo and stuff like that. And so that's the only thing we really talked about is just really emphasizing the 250 for the 4th of July. Yes.
I would love to see us have a service project, a community service project.
There's an idea.
I know you just need one more thing to do, but I
don't have enough to do.
truly.
Clean up the gutters after the parade?
I mean,
That's it.
something, right? Like, I just,
You're gonna-
I don't know what that looks like and what would be the appropriate or maybe relatable thing, but
You
I
can assign it
think
to Councilwoman Hurst.
I would be happy to take that on.
She would.
Yeah, I mean, any ideas you as council have, please, reach out to me and obviously, but I'm gonna have Haley back next month, and so we can start putting some things together and some ideas, and whether it's a service project or we talked about, the mayor and I talked about, recognizing 250 people in Centerville's history or of
That'd be
America,
cool.
Yeah, that was a
something
cool
like
idea.
that, or,
That's really cool.
Ooh, 250 like flags maybe down Main Street would be fun or something.
yeah,
There's a lot of cool.
lots of things we could do.
I wonder if we could get all of the committees, like the parks and the tree and conservation board and the Whitaker collaborating on something like a project that would really just kind of bring everybody onto the same type of thing. And I think that something that would be long-lasting, maybe till the next 250 or to the 500 anniversary, something that would have some longevity to it.
Yeah, we talked about doing like a time capsule with 250 things in it or something like that, or,
Awesome.
I mean, we have the juices flowing and stuff, but yeah, I like that idea. We could get together, I could pull somebody from each committee and just kind of have a separate unofficial 250 committee and just be brainstorming that stuff like that. If that's something you'd want to do, we can definitely do that.
Obviously, another thought is, what can we put into the parade as an entry that it celebrates the 250 years?
Yeah, I definitely think that the theme will be more focused on that
Sure.
concept than anything else. And when we start meeting for 4th of July, which will be in January, then we'll have that as a heavy emphasis. So,
I noticed at the day of service this year, it continues to gain traction, more people are attending, and wow, what an amazing and incredible opportunity to just associate with other people and accomplish something that was so good.
yeah, even if you get me in a weak moment, I may even change the colors of the logo for the 4th of July, just if you get me in a weak moment.
Well, there was that recommendation was changing color of your logo to be red, white, and blue
Yeah, I first,
temporarily.
That's
Gina,
great.
you sparked something when you said that.
What?
I wonder if, as part of service projects or some collaborative community effort, you're drawing different neighborhoods within the city who don't really get the opportunity to interact with each other and putting them together so they're like, oh, well, where do you
Wow.
live in the city? And so you create a little more community cohesiveness and camaraderie
Yeah.
amongst neighborhoods that don't get to spend time together otherwise. I don't know.
We talked about doing like, I don't know if this is what we talked about maybe doing a quilt or something where we, talk about the history of Centerville and the nation and just maybe having it something we display in City Hall for a period of time. So yeah, lots of ideas.
We don't have anyone at all that quilts in Centerville.
Absolutely not.
just go to Centerville Junior on 911.
Yeah.
So, fun fact, since we have been talking about AI today, I put into ChatGPT, what are ideas for how a small city can celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United
I
States?
love it.
And I think it came up with some interesting ideas. The time capsule was certainly one, and a parade was one. An idea is plant 250 trees across parks, schools, and neighborhoods. See, as a living legacy. Not a bad idea, and that's ChatGPT generated. So anyway,
I don't think Bruce heard you. He's just got to find a location
Bruce
for
has
these
gotta find a location
250
for that.
Or maybe
50
some money
trees.
for 250 trees.
I'm just saying, you might want
Yeah.
to ChatGPT it and ask it such a
That's
question.
actually really cool. Would we be able to
But
find?
please use your own minds like Gene and Spencer did. You need to Centerville.
$5,000.
Want to do the same thing every other city does?
Gotta be like
Yeah,
50
exactly.
grand for,
Grand for
Everybody
trees.
just put the same query in and getting the same query out.
Well, I do
you gotta
actually really love the idea
pay
of planting
for
trees
something.
or, you know, maybe
Drought
there's-
tolerant.
Drought tolerant.
I did
Yes.
mention if there was a way, if Bryce could keep track that simply, we walked 250 miles before that, like our trails, that you can keep track of a spreadsheet where people can log
that'd be cool.
their hours. I
That
did
was
that
it.
without AI. I'm just kidding.
yeah, if you want to just, if you want to just
But
send me.
I will rely on the AI later.
I like the idea, so if you want to send me some ideas, then I can pull people from each of the committees and we can maybe
Pulling, copy and
a
I
subcommittee
really
to
do
talk about
love the
things.
idea of getting the committees involved. I think that's,
Mayor, you're over the committees, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
everything's ChatGPT.
For awesome.
I was in charge of an event a few years ago, and it hadn't been done for several years because of COVID and some other things. And one of the pieces of advice that I was given was ask a lot of people to help. So I think if we're involving a lot of people, they spread the word and involve even more people. So
That's
I
true.
agree.
I think it's important that we really engage the public in participating so that we get lots of help. Like, how do we engage our churches and our, like the Quilters Guild or whatever, let's think of some ways
Rotary
to
or
invite, the Rotary.
I think we're
the-
big enough that it doesn't have to be just one idea, it could be,
It could be a lot of
I think
ideas.
so. I think that there's going to be lots of things. You could have a quilt going on at the Whitaker and people
That'd be fun.
planting trees in parks at the same time. That's why we need to get together.
or
and
maybe
have-
it's like a Centerville Day of Service, and we have the Day of Service, but maybe it's a specific day you dedicate for that.
to our community.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
We had a nice fall festival a week ago yesterday. I happened to be caught out of town, but I heard that Councilwoman Hurst was there. She told me, and that's one I hate to miss. That's always a fun one.
It was a beautiful evening. It was really warm, which is unusual for that time of year. So people lingered, I think, a little bit longer than normal. And our youth committee, I was blown away. They stayed till the end.
New
And-
council.
Yeah, youth council. They did such a fabulous job. So kudos to them. And then we had two youth committee members, youth council members. The next night was the Utah League of Women Voters Meet the Candidates night, and we had two youth council members timing that and running that, and they did a great job.
I just wanted to it was an amazing event because I didn't have to be there. But I wanted to recognize somebody who put a lot of time and effort into helping the youth council. Betsy Christopherson, who has been filling in for Haley, took on the task of helping plan this event with the youth council. So I just publicly wanted to acknowledge her
I think.
effort.
I completely agree with you, Bryce. She did a great job. I didn't see Bryce and I had not met Betsy, so I checked in with him because I was like, hey, do I need to stay and help clean up? As you may or may not have remembered, it was a holiday for staff employees. So she did a fantastic job, and that's why I think the youth council I was really impressed with them. I checked with Bryce and I had to run somewhere and I went back and they were all still there. Like, people were gone at that point and the youth council was.
We have really, really good kids this year. They all showed up and
It's
pulled
really
it together.
impressive
And
to me too. The parents of those kids are pretty invested and they seem to be hanging around and helping where needed too.
So something new that we're doing this year for youth council, so we have a dedicated youth mayor, but we also have a mayor pro, really acting kind of cohesively as basically two mayors. So we've assigned each of them to specific tasks or different events. So the specific one, oh gosh, I can't remember who it was, but anyways, one of our youth councils, the mayor, the mayor pro tem, Audrey Howe, is the one that really took the lead and planned out all the volunteers and all the kids and all the activities and everything. And so we're really trying to give them more leadership opportunities to step up and run the events. And I don't have to be there ever again, to be honest, because they did a great job. So.
It was really well done. There were a lot, I don't know, if for those of you who maybe haven't been there, there's tons of tables all over the park and the kids are they're carving pumpkins in one spot and they're running to these tables to do these other activities and it's really well attended. The little kids love it. My son always loves it. I will say one thing.
Okay.
This is just a tiny little, the pumpkins all disappeared in about 5 minutes. Some people just come get a pumpkin and they don't carve it here.
I know, it's a big struggle.
I feel like they need to stay and carve their pumpkin or leave it for a kid who wants to.
Code enforcement officer. can help
Yes,
us with that.
How does the code enforcement officer do that?
It's a struggle.
thought you were gonna say
We
legal.
advertise that all the time to come and carve pumpkins, but
I
it
will.
happens every year where people just think it's a free pumpkin grab.
Yeah.
It does frustrate me as well because people,
The
and maybe
thing
we
is
separate out,
want-
we have some where they could come and grab out of the bucket and maybe some are just meant for that.
Charge $10 and they carve it there, you give them their $10 back.
Oh, maybe.
A deposit?
Can you imagine?
Finance director,
No, I can't.
not likely to collect money and then give it back to people, so that's a hard no.
It's like, please don't.
Is that like gambling against the law or something?
Can you like put up a sign that says, right, like, this is for, like, if you
I
don't
really-
plan.
This is for this
This
event.
is for kids to carve pumpkins. If you don't
Yeah.
plan on carving,
The thing that
like,
was,
please
I
don't
did,
take a pumpkin.
the reason I'm bringing it up is not because I even really recognized or realized that, but I had a couple of families show up at like 6:10 and they're like, there's no pumpkins to carve. And I'm like,
So here's the other
and
thing.
somebody said, oh yeah, a bunch of people came in and took them all out. And I'm like,
So
we probably need to say, hey, if you're, these are for this event. This is a time for neighbors to get together and visit and talk and.
I mean, we can purchase more pumpkins, and we get a grant from Rocky Mountain Power that helps pay for those pumpkins. It's like $500 for 1,500 pounds or whatever it may be, but we could try to finagle some more money out of our events budget and buy more pumpkins.
I don't have any suggestions. I just, that was one complaint.
It is one of my biggest pet peeves when people just come to grab a free pumpkin. A donut, sure, come grab a donut, costs
Those
me
are-
$1.
By
A
the way,
pumpkin
I-
is like $5-6, and so.
The best thing ever is that the donuts are Banbury Cross. They're so good.
Maybe people just don't realize, Bryce, or they've seen in other years, right? Like, oh, it's great, I can go get a pumpkin, and so they don't, like, they're not actually thinking.
Right,
through.
I'm sure it's not intentional.
Yeah.
It probably
I have
just.
some
some
ideas. We'll maybe
signage
just
might
have
help.
like a corral of pumpkins to the side, so that we can have some staggered throughout the night, so.
Thanks, Bryce.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Sounds like we made a couple good choices for mayor and mayor pro tem there. As Bryce mentioned, or I guess as Councilwoman Hirsch mentioned, there's Meet the Canada night that was here at City Hall last Tuesday. I just bring that up because it was at our City Hall, and yeah, Youth Council helped there, and the 4 candidates running for office were there. As far as what's going on in other committees, we're finishing up the financial statement audit of Wasatch Integrated Waste Management, the dump. And you should all know, if you don't know already, that tomorrow night is Planning Commission, and they're having a public hearing on the general plan, correct, Mike? Okay, anything else that they need to know?
Is it a public hearing for the ordinance for the water conservation?
Yes.
The general plan, final draft will be up for a public hearing tomorrow night at the Planning Commission. They did have a presentation by Chris up at their last meeting and felt like they're ready to move forward with that public hearing tomorrow night. The water conservation item, they felt like they didn't have enough information and they wanted Weaver Basin to come. So John Perry with Weaver Basin will be present to answer questions and conversate, I guess, with the Planning Commission with their questions, so.
It was put on Facebook today that there was a public hearing on it tomorrow, because I had people call me and say, we thought it was on the whole general plan and it's only on the water conservation. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah,
what?
No,
So
no,
I
no,
got
that's
on and
item number
looked.
2 on the agenda, so
Yeah.
they're misunderstanding. the
Right, so I
agenda.
said they're separate public hearings, but I had listed them both as public hearings.
The agenda doesn't have it listed as public hearing.
Yeah,
but
it's
they're
not a
put
public
together.
hearing, it's just a continuation of
But
discussion.
I think it said on Facebook that it was.
For number 2, it's not a public hearing, which
Correct.
is the
Correct.
water conservation.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
just a
Yeah, that's
discussion,
just a
yeah.
discussion,
Okay.
review and discussion of proposed update.
We've had a couple of pretty invested residents on that, so I'll just let them know that's
There's
not a
clearly some
public
confusion,
hearing.
maybe through Facebook, but yeah, the
Okay.
agenda reflects it as was discussed.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike. And the last thing on kind of a somber note, Our fire board meeting was canceled yesterday because there was a viewing for one of their firefighters in his funeral today, so be mindful of our fire departments, so. Any questions from me?
I just have one comment here. It says on Facebook, there's a public hearing this Wednesday at 7 PM during the Planning Commission meeting at City Hall. This will be in regards to landscaping, xeriscaping, water conservation, and newly enforced rules for the city.
Who posted
Who
that?
posted that?
Then our city
Is it
website?
Patterson?
Patterson.
Okay, she's
Okay, so
on
not the city
planning
approved.
commission, but it's not the
That's just a-
city. That's not the official city.
It isn't the official city, but I'm just saying people are coming.
So Lorraine has her dates wrong, or Commissioner
Her
Patterson, is
information.
that what you're saying?
Yeah.
No, I just think they're saying it's not a public hearing.
You just read that there's a public hearing on landscaping.
Right, but they're saying that it isn't a public hearing on the landscaping.
Oh,
So officially, though, it's
So
not. So
it
it's
sounds like our
unofficially.
planning commissioner maybe got that mixed up, that it was,
She posted that in her personal capacity, not in her official role, it seems
Right.
like.
Okay.
all right, questions for me? All right, city manager report.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. You discussed many of the items I had on my list, just a couple others. Mike, Kevin, and myself have been meeting, Mike Carlson have been meeting with UDOT regarding the I-15 and potentially 1250 West extension, so trying to have a conversation with UDOT to see how they want to participate with the 1250 West extension. Those have been going great. Rob White's been awesome to work with. He's our region director. He's incredible. So great conversations with them.
region UDOT?
Yeah, he's our region director. Mike was able to secure us another $1 million for Porter Lane project on a grant. Good. That's a big deal.
Is that the one that I attended the meeting? Mike? Okay.
Uh-oh.
He and Kevin did a really
Yeah,
good job.
Kevin too, right?
Of kind
Yeah.
of stating the needs.
They're both
on-
doing great. I want to give Mike credit for this one.
He did a
won't take it ever.
fantastic job.
Give Kevin credit, he didn't want me to say that.
Kevin gets credit for some others. You get credit for this.
So it is a good deal, because originally we had the path coming from Frontage Road up 4th South to 4th West. And the grant that we had for that was a 50% match. This was 25% match, so it's a big savings for the city.
So we were awarded both grants, so we had a 50-50 split.
Right.
So we applied for this one, and Wasatch Front says, hey, this is the same. It's like, of course, this is better terms. And so we were awarded this grant, and then Wasatch Front reallocated the other funds for another project, so.
So the bottom line is you get both projects for the same amount of money.
Two for
So
one.
we'll get
BOGO.
$1.1 million from the third quarter taxes, but for the city, it'll cost us $150K to put that in, but that covers from the frontage road all the way to Main Street, where before it was only the frontage road to 4th West, so.
Can you just quickly explain exactly what they're doing?
Okay, so
on-
the process will be is the county will be coming in, and they'll be putting the box culvert in.
Right.
So from there, what we'll be doing, and we all know that there's no way that we're ever gonna get curb and gutter along 4th West, right, or 4th Parish, Porter Lane.
400
Porter
South?
Lane, 400
400
South.
South,
Lane?
I don't know how you'll ever do it, because, usually it's, you have a developer that puts it in. Well, there is no developers from 4th.
The only
West
way
up,
would be if
basically.
we chose to fund it ourselves.
Exactly.
Right.
So what this does is it extends the road over, gives us curb and gutter, a small space, and then a 12-foot patch of asphalt that will run from basically Young Power Sports all the way up there. Kind of how we sold it, and Gina was there, and she was a great help to that too, but we kind of sold it as, we're going to have that path coming over from the theater, and they're going to be able to go down a few blocks and then turn and go all the way up into Main Street up to the school. And so it was a safety cell as well as anything else. So it was a great team effort. I mean, because I don't ever see how would the city ever come up with the money to put curb and gutter and extend the road over? I don't think, it's not going to happen. We have too many other priorities. So this is a great way of moving forward. And the nice thing is we save money, but bottom line, we spend the same amount of money, but we get more work done. So I think it's a good deal. The box culvert, I am a little bit against box culverts because of the aquifer recharge, but I get overruled all the time, so it's nothing new. But anyway, below Main Street is not bad for me. Anything above Main Street, I don't like to see in a pipe, but that's just me.
I do think, from the safety standpoint, we have Shayla Park, we have Porter Lane Townhomes, we have that development that's just west of Porter Lane Townhomes. There's lots of kids that live in those neighborhoods, and it's a little precarious we've got the light to get them across 400 West, which was a great addition, but really, I'm assuming there are possibly kids that walk from there to Taylor, but for sure they walk to the junior high.
Well, and two, it's a safety factor, right? If they get inside of that pipe, how far do they go before they come out?
Exactly, you do have some issues with just
It is a good deal. I think it's the next step and it's the right step for the city, so.
Make your
Kevin was the
neighbors
one
happy.
that kind of got thinking about it and moved us forward, so I think it's a good deal.
It was kind of exciting to be there and realize it was that close to potentially happening.
And I don't know if I should say this, but the mayors that was there were very excited about the project.
They were. I was
was
like,
incredible.
wow, that's really cool to have all these people from different communities like really supportive of
And we heard,
that project.
we heard back from an individual who I'm not going to say, but, he said it was like in the van, because they all came in a big van. The mayor, I'm sure, has done this before, and he owes me lunch for getting him out of going to this meeting, but the bottom line is.
I would have been there because I'm usually the one piling out of the van because we don't usually have a project. So they choose the mayors that don't have a
That's what you
project. And I
told me.
piled
That's why
out
I
of the
said
van
you
the
owe me
last
lunch.
3 years, so.
That's awesome.
So
Anyway.
I would have come for a half hour if you'd wanted me to.
well-
so. But thank you.
But it all worked out great. But I mean, the bottom line, he said the buzz all the way back to where they were heading was all about this project. So it went real well. So any questions for me? I am working on a new updated list that'll be kicking out on where we're at on grants and some conclusions and percentages of where we're at on the project. So you'll be more informed, but I haven't quite got it done yet. Worked on it tonight a little bit, but anyway, it'll be coming. Am I good now?
Thanks, Mike. The last thing I have is congratulations to the mayor and his basketball team for taking bronze at Huntsman's games this past week.
Go, Mayor.
It's a big deal. It's a good job.
6 games in 5 days.
Wow.
Don't try and do that when you're only 25 years old.
And that's all I have unless there's questions for me.
Thank you, Brad. All right, I don't think we have a closed session tonight. Anybody else have anything we missed? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Adjourn. Thanks.
Using a VPN. I just got an alert for you.
Well.